Hello everybody, this is Diane, Antinatalism, and I had a really eye-opening private lesson for one of my puppies, my new one named Juliet, and I have a really good trainer, and I've probably known her for maybe 8 or so years, and she's trained several of my dogs, and she knows me from way back. Well, maybe even longer, maybe 10, 12 years, I don't know. But, you know, I've seen her grow up. She was young, maybe late 20s when I met her, and now she's, you know, mid to late 30s. So anyway, we were just catching up with old times and just talking about, you know, the dogs that we've raised and the dogs that she's raised and trained, and you know, people that she's worked with, and her own dogs. And you know, she asked me about a couple of dogs that you know, I had in daycare over the years, and she's like, oh, how are they now, and etc. And we were talking, and you know, dogs change and lives change and everything, and she said, you know, Diane, she says, we all take risks when we get a pet, when we get a dog. And she knows that I do rescue, but she wasn't, you know, entirely talking about rescue. She was just saying we take risks when we take on a pet, a dog, or anything really. And I'm getting almost choked up now because it really hit home. And the reason why I like obedience with dogs is because it's psychologically based, and I love psychology. That was my major, along with sociology in college, and I just really love the principles of psychology, and it's really made me a better dog trainer and behaviorist. And so you know, she was, you know, detailing some things that she's seen over the years as a trainer. And, you know, people take risks having children. Huge risks. This is nothing new. It's not anything that I didn't know before. But the word is risk, or gamble, which we often use as antinatalist. But the word risk today, I mean, she was almost like it was almost like a counseling session. It was almost like, for that very moment, like she was my therapist, and like she was like comforting me. It was almost like, you know, Diane, she says, don't blame yourself for, you know, anything. When you raise dogs and you put everything into your dogs, you're not always going to get the same thing out of them. Well, I know that. And you know, I mean, I've been through so many things with dogs, and you know, so many disappointments along the way, and you know, and also people, when they see you with certain breeds, they judge you. People get really nasty. Like my best dog, you know, my very best dog, Valentine, perfection. But people see her, and I know it's, you know, it's very prejudiced, but when people see larger black dogs, they, you know, they have feelings or judgments and criticisms and prejudices. And I really hate that, because they don't give you the benefit of the doubt. They don't give your dog the benefit of the doubt. But yet, if it was a jumpy little white fluffy dog that's nasty as all get out, it gets favor. And I've seen that in the dog world, and it's really disappointing to me as a behaviorist and trainer and dog lover and rescuer and advocate and activist. But when she said that to me, she says, Diane, we take risks when we take on a dog. And she was so absolutely correct. And I really wish people knew and realized that when they have a biological child, that they are taking on the biggest risk, and they are gambling with an innocent child's life. And no matter what your stability, your mental stability, or your health, or your social skills are, your child is going to be altogether different. And I have seen the most perfect parentage of a dog that raised the most, neurotic puppies, or the most perfect mother of a dog have a puppy that was either uncontrollable or unmanageable, etc. So just because you and your partner are having a child, you cannot control that child's outcome any more than you can when you adopt or purchase a dog or acquire a dog. It is a total gamble. And I don't breed dogs. Everybody knows that. I don't breed them. But when I take on a dog, it is completely a risk. And I'm glad that she said that, because it really was comforting to know that, yes, indeed, it really was a risk, because I knew nothing about the parentage, and I knew nothing about what the dog could, develop into. And it's the same with a child. You and your partner could have just great genetic genes, but the child could have, a fear-based ADHD, or even autism, or just be shy at school and be bullied, and that child could be traumatized, and the child's behavior could be entirely changed because of its early, childhood education or its schooling. And, same with a dog. I mean, there's just so many variables in life, and there's just no rhyme or reason. And, you just cannot predict the things that can happen in one's life. I mean, your parents could break up, could split up, and that changes everything. The child could, just develop a rare cancer, and that experience in the hospital just could deplete that child's energy and motivation and spirit entirely. And I've raised dogs and put so much energy into them as puppies, including daycare and obedience, and they just did not have the propensity to develop into this this wonderful, magical dog that I thought they would. Genetics ruled. And I remember, in fact, she's got a great home right now, Shiloh. Shiloh, I invested so much into Shiloh, and she was a parvo survivor, and she was a German Shepherd. And, took her to classes as soon as we possibly could, and did everything for the dog. And, she just never really bonded with me. She really never did well in class, but she's got a great home right now. But there's just so many variables. And, oh my God, I saw a guy, see that car down there? He's got his Trump flag and his American flag. It's incredible. People are still trumping. So, yeah, really that one word, just the way that my trainer today said the word risk. And she said, we as pet keepers, pet owners, guardians, we take risks. And, anybody who gets a puppy, I've had many puppies, adopted many puppies. Anybody who has a puppy knows that it's a lot of work, and, even your best efforts just may not come to fruition. I mean, the dog may be great in the household, but just not great at the dog park. Or, your dog may be the sweetest possible dog, but he vomits in the car on the way to the groomer. Or, your dog may be great at home with your own pack, but be just terrible with other people and other dogs. Or just doesn't like to be handled. It doesn't like to go on leash walks. There's just so many variables with pets. And I have raised so many dogs, and I've raised cats too. And I mean, I just kind of throw up my hands with the cats. I mean, gosh, I had this one beautiful cat that I rescued from a shelter. Beautiful cat. It was an adult, gorgeous cat, prettiest thing ever. And he got loose one day, and we lured him back. We lured him with a trap and some food in the trap. And at that point, he knew what a trap was all about. He got out again, slipped out, and he was just destined never to come back. Never. Just never wanted to be confined in a house. And he looked like a house cat. I mean, you would never know that he wasn't, you know, house, domestic, trained cat. And just the futility of raising, you know, multiple animals and many animals over, you know, from the time I was like, I mean, we had dogs and cats as children, but from the time I was 20, I've always had a dog. And just the futility and exasperation of some of the efforts that you put into these creatures. And, you know, some of the dogs were just not even trainable. Some of them had a high prey drive and would just, you know, freak out when they saw a squirrel or a mouse or even a little dog. And you cannot untrain that. And probably the most cruel thing that you can say to someone who is a dog keeper and a trainer is, well, it's all about the dog owner. That depends on the outcome of your dog's behavior. No way. And anybody who raises dogs or works with dogs and raises dogs or adopts dogs knows that it's not the dog owner at all. Now, it can be. There are a lot of sloppy dog owners that don't train their dogs, but you cannot judge the pet guardian and the owner just because of the outcome of the dog. Nature trumps nurture, and it's really deceiving. And the same would go for a human being and human babies and parents. You can no more change and alter the course of your child's life than anybody who just takes a puppy from a pound or a shelter or a rescue and gives it everything imaginable. And same with, you know, an adopted child. Whether it's your own child or an adopted child, you cannot change the course of its life because of the many variables that child is going to encounter. And you know, I take on other people's dogs, and you know, that they have bred or raised and failed, or you know, they don't want the responsibility of anymore. So that's kind of been what I've done, and there's been many disappointments because you just can't. You can put in all the effort you want to healing and leash walking and obedience, and your dog may not be affected at all by the training that you give him or her. And same with your children. Risk is the biggest thing that you take when you have a biological child. And, you know, your child could have everything that you don't want in a child. They could be totally opposite from you. They could have opposite political affiliations. They could have opposite skills, opposite traits, opposite behavior, opposite appearance. You know, they may not even value what you value in life. They may have slight conditions, or mental illnesses, or propensities that, you know, you didn't predict, but you take the biggest risk and biggest gamble having a child, a biological child. And this is a warning. This is a warning because Your child is the one that is ultimately the victim. Every child is a victim. They did not ask to be born. And the fact that you cannot get consent from your child means that you should never have them. So it's not a joke, as some natalists believe, that, well, how can you ever get a consent from a baby? You can't. And that's the very reason why you should never reproduce. So anyway, that's my video for today. I learned a lot today, and I was comforted by my trainer's voice and her rhetoric. And, you know, I don't look back with any regrets, because I did the very best that I could for my dogs. And, you know, not all of my dogs bonded with me, nor were they a good fit, nor did they even have the potential to be, you know, great domesticated dogs. But that was no fault of my own, because I did not breed them. When you breed any being, you are taking the biggest risk. It's not fair. It's not fair to anyone, and it's not even fair to yourself. So please do not take that risk. Reproduction is wrong. It's the original wrong. Thank you for watching my video.